Bitcoin is all the rage again. And in this three-part series, we're looking at Bitcoin as money, Bitcoin as a ledger, and finally, Bitcoin as code. This is the third part, Bitcoin as code. This is Liberties Report, and I'm Rick Falkenberg.
This report is presented by Private Internet Access.
We've been looking at how Bitcoin is going to revolutionize money, how it's going to do to banks what email did to the postal system. We've looked at how Bitcoin is challenging the concept of a ledger, and in particular, how it's challenging the governmental monopoly on what is true and what is false. Last time this happened, it was with the religious wars in Europe, which ended up with 200 years of civil war. Let's hope this becomes a little more, civilized than civil war. But there's another aspect of Bitcoin, which is Bitcoin as code. When you're going deep down into the protocol, you'll see all of these up_blah blah 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 blahs. And that is a remnant of Satoshi Nakamoto's efforts. He originally wrote Bitcoin to have three parts. It was the distributed ledger, which solved the Byzantine generals problem. It was the transaction system, which solved the double spending problem, and it was a scripting language. The first two were so revolutionary that Satoshi Nakamoto decided to drop the scripting language in favor of solidifying these first two, and nobody can blame him. They are absolutely revolutionary. However, the scripting language is absolutely fascinating when you take a second go at it, because it enables a lot of things we've never been even close to achieving before. This is what Ethereum did. The Ethereum went ahead from the Bitcoin blockchain and actually re-implemented all of these scripting parts, which is, to their credit, obviously Turing complete, meaning it can execute any logic describable in code. It is distributed by its nature, and it does have a bit of an uphill battle because wow! To even begin to explain to people what this is and what it can do. The code runs in the network. The code runs in the network for as long as the code pays for its own running in the network, or somebody else pays for its running in the network. What that means is, since the dawn of computers, we've had these metal boxes, that code have been running on. For simplicity's sake, let's just look at PCs for now. All code knows it's running in what's called an x86 environment. This means it's running on what it thinks is a small metal box. That small metal box has a processor, a video card, memory, and all of this stuff. After some time in the early 90s, it became kind of inconvenient to only run one program on one of these metal boxes. So these metal boxes got the ability to fool several programs into thinking they were each running on their own metal box. That was the first abstraction layer of this kind. It went on from there to have one server actually instantiating many small metal boxes, each getting their own environment, each thinking they were able to command one of these boxes all of their own. And from there you got so-called elastic scaling or an elastic cloud or dynamic servers, meaning that you could instantiate these servers on demand when one of your processes had a heavy load. What's fascinating about the Bitcoin scripting language and how Ethereum takes it onward is that for the first time, we're removing the abstraction of the metal box. The code is running in the network. It doesn't believe it's running on a metal box anymore. And the fact that it's running in the network means that the fact that it's running is an agreement between everybody taking part in the network. That, by extension, means that the code cannot be shut down. Just like you can't point a gun at somebody using a language and demand that they change the meaning of a word. Just like you can't point a gun at somebody and demand that they change a Bitcoin balance in the entire Bitcoin network. You cannot point a gun at somebody being involved in Ethereum, or for that matter Bitcoin scripting, and demand that they change the behavior or the data of running code in the network. Do you imagine what this can do against censorship-prone regimes, which by now, frankly, is all of them? Can you imagine what this brings in information resilience? Frankly, if you were to build Skynet, making it impossible to shut down, this is how you would build it. Except you couldn't build it before now because we didn't have the technology. As a final note on this, there's this fascinating concept about Bitcoin agents. I mentioned that in Ethereum, code running on the network costs a little bit of money to keep running, yeah? But there are things that code is good at, and there are things that code sucks at and would need human help for. CAPTCHAs being one obvious example. There are many, 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 many more. So imagine that you set up a piece of code, an application, that actually needs humans to do some part of this and pays humans to do some part of its code. In the other end, it adds value and sells something, which brings it revenue. And it uses that revenue to pay for its own running in the network. We're this close to have fully autonomous corporations. I love living in the future. I'm Rick Falkvinge, and this is Liberties Report. Visit our sponsor, Private Internet Access. Good night.
This report is presented by Private Internet Access.
Liberties Report is produced using exclusively free software.